Welcome everyone to Story of Arknights. In this episode, we're going to discuss the prologue to the main story of the game, Evil Times Part 1. It is also the first part of Act Initium of the main story, known as Hour of an Awakening. I will first go through the entire story of this episode, and at the end there will be a short summary of all the important events in it for those of you who are less patient. Let's begin. The story starts with a mysterious scene. The protagonist, known simply as Doctor, is being talked to by an unknown voice. We can see a person from behind looking through a window at what seems to be a gigantic yellow eye. The voice talks about how Doctor may have forgotten everything but his name, how they haven't talked with each other in a while, and how he shouldn't be there and that he is needed somewhere else by her, likely referring to Amiya, the girl seen looking at the eye. Finally, the voice reveals the current date, 23rd of December 1096, an important day. After this enigmatic monologue, the Doctor slowly wakes up in a harshly lit room. He can hear several voices calling out to him and monitoring his status. When he comes to, he can see the girl from the dream holding his hand. Present is also a medic, responsible for seeing to Doctor waking up safely. As he slowly gets up from a sarcophagus where he slumbered, it becomes very apparent he suffers from amnesia. Amiya explains that he belongs to an organization known as Rhodes Island, and that its members, including her, have come to retrieve him. She also refers to Doctor as the most important person to her. During the conversation, a guard from Rhodes Island comes into the room to announce that the building has been breached by unknown hostiles. It turns out that it's some members of Reunion, a pro-infected movement. Communication with Rhodes Island HQ has been jammed, and so the command over battle is experimentally transferred to Doctor to see whether his amnesia has affected his tactical abilities, said to be very good before his hibernation. A short fight ensues, and a small reunion group is easily dispatched, proving Doctor's commanding prowess has not diminished. Shortly after the fight, the squad is joined by Doberman, a Rhodes Island instructor and captain of Op Team E1 of this operation. Together with Amiya, they decide they must evacuate Chernobog, the city they're in, immediately. Doberman also displays skepticism towards Doctor's abilities when suffering from amnesia and reveals that this was the last day they could rescue him. However, she trusts Amiya's judgment. Before they leave the facility, a limited signal with Rhodes Island is established, allowing the primitive Rhodes Island Terminal Service, PRTS, to connect to them, allowing for issuing orders during battle without relying on verbal commands. Once the squad leaves the facility, it turns out the entire city of Chernobog is in disarray due to a mass riot caused by Reunion. Its members burn and loot the city, attack both the city guards and the civilians. Rhodes Island tries to head for the evacuation point, but on the way encounter Reunion members trying to harm a civilian woman and her child and decide to intercept. The rescued woman thanks them but realizes Amiya is also infected and gets scared. Doctor is confused by this event, to which Amiya and Doberman explain how most of Rhodes Island members, as well as Reunion members, suffer from an illness known as oripathy. People suffering from oripathy are referred to as infected and feared and shunned all over the world. Ursus, the country Chernobog is in, is known for treating them especially harshly, for example sending them to forced labor camps in the north. Rhodes Island's mission is to care for infected, develop medicine stalling the symptoms and progression of the illness and eventually develop a cure, as well as some peacemaking. It is also revealed that outside of Doctor being a master tactician and Rhodes Island's field commander, he is also a brilliant oripathy researcher and a neurologist. Doberman also hypothesizes that harsh treatment of the infected in Ursus is the most likely cause for an uprising started by Reunion. After that, they keep pressing forward towards the evac point, mentioning that in 3 hours the city will be engulfed by a catastrophe and they have no time to lose. Meanwhile, official Chernobog TV broadcasts show some propaganda stating the riots have already been taken care of, when in reality the city guards are losing pretty hard and are getting outnumbered. Doberman mentions how when they first infiltrated the city, the guards' quantity, distribution and status were very bizarre, to which Guard wonders if by then most of their defenses have already been compromised. At this point, the squad encounters another Reunion group and dispatches them as quickly as possible. After the fight, the squad is shortly intercepted by an Ursus guard captain, who is then distracted by Crownslayer, one of Reunion's ringleaders, and her squad, and Rhodes Island can keep advancing. After a while, some Reunion troops catch up, but are ambushed by Ace, a special ops operator, and his squad. Ace is saddened by the news of Doctor's amnesia, but fully trusts him nonetheless. The united squads decide to continue evacuating as the catastrophe is closing in. Based on Crownslayer's behavior, Doberman hypothesizes Reunion operates with little to no standing army, instead relying on oppressed infected of Chernobog to simply join the rebellion, explaining their seemingly unending numbers. The group faces another Reunion squad, after which they are found by Crownslayer once again. This time, however, Mephisto, another Reunion commander, joins the encounter. He says that this part of the city falls under his control and Crownslayer should retreat, which she reluctantly does, bitterly wishing for his failure. Mephisto explains how Rhodes Island weren't a target in this operation, but he was very intrigued by them, especially the Doctor and the device used to keep him alive back in the facility where he woke up. He offers to let them go for giving up Doctor, an offer they naturally refuse. A fight with Mephisto's troops ensues. Doberman tries to fire a flare and break through the formation and run, but the enemy proves to be too much to handle this time and Rhodes Island is in a pinch, being stuck on the defensive. The operators are astonished by how well organized Reunion troops are since Mephisto arrived. Suddenly, Mephisto's unit gets attacked from another side by Nearl, an operator responsible for securing the evac point, who saw the flare and came to their aid. Nearl taunts Mephisto's sadistic and tasteless actions, saying his men act like deranged thugs, when they are most likely ordered to simply cause chaos by Reunion's leader. This infuriates Mephisto, and he orders Faust, a hidden sniper, to shoot down Nearl. She manages to just barely defend herself from the shot, and then Ace comes to her aid to block another one. The Rhodes Island snipers put pressure on Faust, and Nearl breaks through the formation of Mephisto's troops, allowing the group to flee. After the fight, Rhodes Island reaches Chernobog's outskirts and wonders about how Faust was able to shoot 2 shots from 2 different positions in such a quick succession. We also wonder about how Mephisto managed to control his troops so well, almost like puppets, and if he didn't fight directly because of lack of combat abilities. We also note that the catastrophe is almost upon them and the situation is getting more dire. On the other side of the conflict, Faust apologizes for failing, but Mephisto says it was his fault for losing his temper. He also emphasizes Faust's safety is a priority. His demeanor towards Faust is noticeably much more friendly than towards Rhodes Island or Crownslayer before. He also decides to relay information to Tallulah, Reunion's leader. This concludes this episode. Now, time for the quick summary. The day is 23rd of December, 1096. Doctor awakens from his slumber in sarcophagus, not remembering anything but his name. The girl with rabbit ears that wakes him up introduces herself as Amiya of Rhodes Island. Together with a squad of combat operators, they fight their way out of an abandoned facility to reunite with another squad, led by Doberman. The Ursus city of Chernobog, where the facility is currently engulfed by an uprising insinuated by Reunion, a violent pro-infected organization. As a peacemaking pro-infected organization, Rhodes Island tries to help resolve the situation to an extent, but are met with firm resistance and are forced to focus on their primary objective, evacuating Doctor. Their evacuation gets intercepted several times by 2 Reunion commanders, Crownslayer and Mephisto. To support them against those, squads of Ace and Nearl come to their aid. The group reaches Chernobog's outskirts. Meanwhile, Mephisto notifies Reunion's leader of Rhodes Island presence. The situation for Rhodes Island is worsening due to catastrophe looming over Chernobog and Tallulah, the Reunion's leader, being added into the equation. Alright, that will be it for this story. I hope you enjoyed this summary. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate you leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. But anyway, that will be it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!